Best first cars. Buying your first car is one of the most memorable milestones on the passage into adulthood. Once you've passed your driving test, the next hurdle between you and a whole new level of freedom will be finding the best first car for your budget. So we're here to help you. Welcome back to MIA Luxury Cars. Here we listed the best new cars for new drivers. They're also good to drive, which will help new drivers to build confidence with every mile. Let's get started. Fourth Gen Mustang. The 4th Gen or SN95 Mustang is kind of like the unloved middle child. It's not a classic, it's not that modern, and honestly, it's probably the worst of all Mustangs. I think the SN95s are still really cool though. They are relatively powerful and they have a lot of potential, but the best of all, they're cheap. Now, the V6 model has about 190 horsepower, and the V8 isn't much better. It only makes 220 slightly buffer ponies, but there is a ton of stuff to make your Mustang more vascular. There are a ton of parts out there, and they're cheap. So this is a great first car if you want to learn how to wrench on something. VOLVO 240. Old Volvos are basically the to-go option for cheap, reliable, and pretty cool first cars. They have a reputation for being tanks because they're actually, I think, literally classified as tanks. And some of them even same with turbos. If you're lucky enough to find one, you can get a really good Volvo 240 in good shape for 105 grand. Still, because it has a stuck so close that it's early boxy design. Even with their modern cars, they're never going to all of a sudden become uncool, alright? There are a ton of really cool Volvos like the V70R or the 850T5R. It's rear-wheel drive, it's super simple, and the engine base is huge. Ford Ranger. Now, they've made a bunch of different types of Rangers, so there's bunch to choose from. We had to bring this truck back because it is such a great choice for a first car. You can pick these up for a couple of grands in good use condition. They're easy to work on. Tons of room in the engine bay for you to get in and the mess around it. And you get your knuckles all greasy. And of course, you got a whole handy dandy truck bed for going and doing some truck things. C4 Corvette. You can buy one of these for $3,500, but just be aware you might have to get your knuckles a little greasy on this bad boy. So much so that they're going to start calling you Greasy Knocks when you walk into your homeroom. And you're just going to own it. Chevy made the C4 Corvette from 1983 all the way through 1996. So there are a ton of them out there, and guys, this car has the most sickest feature available anywhere on any car. During its run, the C4 came with one of 6 different V8s, so before you buy one, figure out which V8 it's got. LT1 is the best, it's a sweet spot between price and performance. Plus, they're bulletproof, and the coolest car is a car that runs, but if anything ever did go wrong, Chevy put the LT1 in a ton of different cars. The parts are easy to find and cheap, and you don't mind hopping under the hood. Miata. Okay, there's no denying that Miata is an awesome little car. It would have a great first car for someone who wants to develop their skills as a driver. They are rear-wheel drive. They're really well balanced. Parts are cheap and you can almost definitely afford one of these things. They are pretty cool. The NA came with sweet big broad pop-up headlights, and that's the one that everyone really wants right now. But the NB is basically the same car, and I even think that the NC is pretty good looking, especially with the hard tops and wheels. All 3 gens are really fun and can be found for cheap. Lincoln LS. This might not be the most romantic car on the list. It's not a C4 Corvette, but if you're looking for something big, luxurious, reliable, safe, and the V8 costs less than 4 grand, I want to consider one of these boys. This car was made between 1999 and 2006, and it was basically America's answer to comfy European cars, like the BMW 3 Series and the Audi A4. And as you'd expect from the car, which was trying to go to war with the Germans for luxury sedan market domination, the LS was full of fancy stuff like technology, and it even had independent double wishbone suspension, which is pretty cool. It handles pretty good. On the inside, the LS was a symphony of leather and wood like an old library, which is kind of like the internet, but instead of being filled with websites, it's filled with books. This car is slowed like no one. It's sensible, it's responsible, it's something that your parents can trust. Behind the understated exterior lives an absolutely revenous secret of 3.9-liter V8 that pumps out about 300 horsepower. If you want a manual, you can get one, but only one with a 240 horsepower V6. But that is a decent amount of power. Subaru Forester. The Forester is a compact SUV that is a fat hatchback hiding a sexy sideways secret. Below that sensible boxy body are many of the sweet crazy gizzards from the legendary Subaru WRX. Of all the models that you can get in the US, the XT Limited Turbo is one that you want because it's got a turbocharged. It's flat 4 with 230 horsepower, and it also has a sunroof. So when you're driving around, you can put your little hands out there and be free, and it has a leather interior. This car is basically the WRX without a big rear wing or a huge exhaust, and it's all hidden under a big safe SUV body that your parents are going to love. And more importantly, it's a lot more affordable and easier to find than WRX, and insurance is going to be cheaper too. BMW E46 330i. The E46 M3 is a great freaking car, but it is a really expensive car too. But there's a good news because you can find its slightly less muscular brother, the 330ci, for about a quarter of the price. For just a few grand, you can buy an E46 330ci with the ZHP package. Now, if you can find one, this is one that you want. It's the performance package one, and it comes with a bunch of cool little bits like a cool steering wheel. It's got 6 speeds, it's got different off ratio, it's got firmer springs. It also has one of the greatest ship knobs of all time. The 330ci had the MK4 inline 6, which was basically the last really good reliable engine that BMW ever made, and it made 235 horsepower. You know how E30s were cheap for a while, and then they got expensive. Then E36 is really cheap, now they're getting expensive too. E46 are actually cheap right now. Nissan 350Z. The 350 is a modern-day equivalent to 240, except it is way faster. There are a couple of versions of the 3.5-liter V6 that came in this car, and if you get one that was made in 2006 or newer, you'll be good for a very reliable 300 horsepower, which is plenty. Basically, it's like a 330ci, and the 350Z are the best value that you can get in sports cars right now, and they're relatively interchangeable. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you on our next video.